Never look at the window after midnight. It was raining heavily that night. The cold wind was blowing and it was accompanied by thunderous claps of thunder and bright flashes of lightning. Everyone in the house was sleeping except for 13-year-old Bobby. He couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw a horrifying scene from school that day. He had been sitting alone at lunch when all of a sudden an eerie silence had fallen over the entire school. It was so sudden and unexpected that it made him jump. When he looked around, he saw that all the students were staring at something behind him. Slowly, he turned his head to look in the direction they were looking in. In front of him stood a girl who was new in school. She had pale white skin, long black hair that reached her ankles, and wore a Victorian nightgown. But that wasn't what made him look twice. What shocked him was that she didn't have a head. Still, she walked among the students without hesitation and greeted them with a warm smile. Bobby felt his blood run cold as he realized that the girl had turned around and was now staring directly at him. He wanted to scream, but no sound came out of his mouth. He tried to get up and run away, but his legs felt heavy as if he were drowning, and then she was standing right in front of him. She extended her hand towards him and said, "Do you want to play with me?" Her voice sounded like wind chimes. Bobby could only shake his head in response. "Oh, come on," she whined and grabbed his arm. "You have to play with me. We can be best friends." She dragged him along as she walked away. The other students parted like the Red Sea as they walked through them. He could hear their whispers. Who is that? How did he get here? Why isn't he scared? Hearing these questions, Bobby became even more scared. Was this girl dangerous? Was she going to kill him? They arrived at the school's gate. It was open. Bobby knew that someone had forgotten to close it after school. He looked back at the girl, but she had disappeared. He let out a breath he didn't know he had been holding and slumped against the wall. That's when he heard a voice say, "Boo." Bobby jumped and spun around to see a group of his classmates standing there with a mischievous grin on their faces. "Gotcha," they said before running off, leaving Bobby alone at the gate. Shaking his head, he decided to go home, but as soon as he got home, he ran to his bedroom window and looked outside. In the pale moonlight, he saw a girl standing across the street. She was wearing the same nightgown as the headless girl from school, and then she took a step forward. Bobby's heart began to race. He quickly turned away and tried to forget about what he had seen, but every time he closed his eyes, he saw the girl with the warm smile on her face. So when his parents told him to go clean the windows, he was terrified. What if he saw her again? With trembling hands, he started cleaning the glass. As the window in his room faced the backyard, he cleaned that one first. When he turned to clean the front window, he almost jumped out of his skin when he saw a girl standing right in front of him. His reflection stared back at him with wide, frightened eyes. And next to him stood the headless girl from his nightmare. Startled, he fell to the floor and hid under the table. He peeked out from under the edge of the table and saw that the girl had vanished. Shaking, he got up and fled to his room, locking the door behind him. He threw himself on his bed and pulled the covers over his head. Maybe it was just a dream, he thought. But when he went downstairs for breakfast, his parents were waiting for him with serious expressions on their faces. "What happened last night?" his mother asked, her voice grave. Bobby's heart skipped a beat. Had they seen her too? Had they seen the headless girl? I don't know what you're talking about," he stammered. His parents exchanged glances. "We saw the window in the living room was open this morning," his father said, "and we couldn't find you anywhere. We were worried." Relief washed over Bobby. They hadn't seen the girl. He spent the whole day at school thinking about the girl. Who was she? Why did she keep appearing to him? Was he going crazy? That night he told himself he wouldn't go near the window, but when he heard footsteps pacing around the house, he couldn't help but wonder, was it her? So when the footsteps stopped right next to his door, he got up and slowly approached it. He placed his ear against the door and listened intently. Then he heard a knock on the window. His blood ran cold. Was it her? Taking a deep breath, he opened the door and stepped outside. Standing in front of him was a dark figure with long flowing hair. His heart pounded in his chest. Could this be the girl from his nightmare? He couldn't see her face because she was backlit by the moonlight. But as she turned around, he gasped. It was the headless girl. She had a warm smile on her face and outstretched her hand towards him. "Do you want to play with me?" she asked. Her voice sounded like wind chimes. "No, thank you," Bobby replied, his voice shaking. I don't want to play." The girl frowned. "But you have to," she said. "We're best friends, remember?" She grabbed his arm and pulled him towards the window. Struggling to free himself from her grasp, Bobby looked around frantically for help. But no one was around. They were completely alone. "Help!" he screamed at the top of his lungs. But no one could hear him. The girl dragged him closer to the window. "You won't be alone anymore," she whispered. "We can always be together." Just then, a loud clap of thunder echoed through the night. The window behind the girl cracked, startling her. She turned to look at it, giving Bobby an opportunity to break free. He scrambled away from her as fast as he could, not daring to look back. He ran to his room and locked the door, leaning against it with his back, trying to catch his breath. The rain had stopped and the wind had died down. The only sound he could hear was the pounding of his own heart. He stayed in his room all night, too afraid to sleep or even close his eyes. Every time he thought he heard footsteps, he would jump and stare at the door. But in the morning, when the sun streamed through his window, He felt a surge of relief. Maybe it was just a dream, he thought. But as he got up and went to the window to open the curtains, his blood ran cold. There, in the garden below, he saw a girl lying motionless, her long black hair spread out around her like a dark halo. Her nightgown was torn and her pale skin was marred by scratches. And then he saw her face, or what was left of it. Where her head should have been, there was nothing but a gaping hole. As Bobby stared in horror at the headless girl in his garden, a sense of dread filled him. He knew that his nightmare had become reality and that he might not be safe in his own home anymore. What will happen to Bobby? Will he be able to escape the clutches of the headless girl? And how did she end up in his garden? Find out in the next episode. But before that, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon for updates. If you liked the story, show your support. Your support keeps us motivated to create more videos like this. Now leave a comment. What do you think will happen next? We'll pick our favorite comment and give you a shout out in the next video.